You don't feel old. That's the problem. Because by the time you finally do, it's already too late. You think you still have plenty of time. Most people in their 60s do. You hear it everywhere. 60 is the new 40. Age is just a number. You're only as old as you feel. And because your body mostly works, and your mind still feels sharp, you assume the years ahead will stretch out gently, like a long, quiet afternoon with nowhere you need to be. They won't. I'm 92 years old. I was born when radios were furniture and Franklin Roosevelt was president. I have lived through wars, recessions, technological miracles, and the slow disappearance of almost everyone I once loved. I have buried my parents, my siblings, my husband, and more friends than my heart knows how to count. And I am telling you this with absolute clarity. Your 60s are not the beginning of something comfortable. They are the last chapter where preparation is still possible. Everything after this gets harder, physically, emotionally, and mentally, in ways no one warns you about. I spent nearly 4 decades as a high school guidance counselor in Pittsburgh. 38 years of helping teenagers plan futures they believed would last forever. I retired at 70, which means my 60s were filled with closing one life and imagining the next. I did what people say you're supposed to do. I saved money. I planned carefully. I had a marriage that had survived 6 decades, children who checked in regularly, and grandchildren who ran toward me like I was the sun. I thought that meant I was ready. I wasn't. What I wasn't ready for was my body quietly changing without asking permission. Not a dramatic collapse, just small betrayals at first. Slower recovery, less energy, a stiffness that lingered. I wasn't ready for how suddenly independence begins to shrink once it starts slipping. And I certainly wasn't ready for the loneliness that arrives when death becomes routine instead of shocking. I was also not prepared for a random Tuesday afternoon to split my life cleanly in half. My husband, my partner of 63 years, collapsed and died in a hardware store while I was at home writing a grocery list. No warning, no goodbye. One moment married, the next moment alone. Then came the stroke. One morning I woke up in a hospital bed, my left side refusing to cooperate, my independence suddenly negotiable. In a single night, my future rearranged itself without consulting me. So understand this. This is not advice from someone who figured life out perfectly. This is a warning from someone who assumed she had time and was wrong. If you are in your 60s right now, this is the moment where denial is still optional. Later, it won't be. Lesson 1. Your body is changing faster than you realize. At 62, I could walk 3 miles without planning it. Stairs didn't require strategy. Playing on the floor with my grandchildren felt normal. I assumed that strength was permanent because it always had been. By 75, a mile felt like an achievement. By 80, stairs required breaks. By 84, a stroke took the rest of what I assumed would always be there. Here's the truth people avoid saying out loud. Muscle lost after 60 is incredibly difficult to regain. Bone density doesn't politely return. Balance, once automatic, becomes something you actively manage. And if you don't challenge your body while it can still respond, you will eventually live inside a body that no longer obeys your intentions. I watch my great-grandchildren run across the yard now, and I remember when my legs could do that, when standing up didn't require effort. That version of me feels like someone I once knew, not someone I still am. I wish I had respected her body more while I had her. I wish I had built strength like my future depended on it, because it did. If you are 62 and capable of walking 3 miles, walk them regularly. Build strength while it still answers you. You will need it sooner than you think. One day you realize the phone has stopped ringing, not because people are busy, but because they're gone. There is something no one prepares you for in old age, how quickly your world begins to empty. Not dramatically, not all at once. Quietly, one chair at a time. In my younger years, my life was loud with people, family gatherings, work colleagues, neighbors dropping by unannounced, and most importantly, friends, real friends, the kind who knew my past and didn't need explanations. I believed those friendships were permanent simply because they had lasted so long. I was wrong. I had a small, tight circle of women I'd known since my 30s. We met every Tuesday for lunch for decades. Children grew up around those lunches. Husbands came and went. Parents died. Illnesses scared us. But Tuesday always came, until it didn't. One by one, they disappeared. A heart attack, cancer, old age. No warning bells, just absence. Suddenly, I was the last one left who remembered the jokes, the shared history, the version of myself that existed before wrinkles and loss. Here's the mistake I made. I stopped making new friends in my 60s. I thought I already had enough. I assumed the people who had always been there would remain there. That assumption cost me dearly. By the time you reach your 80s, the number of people who truly know you shrinks dramatically. Your children love you, yes. Your grandchildren adore you when they visit. But that is not the same as having someone who remembers you at 35. Someone who knew your parents. Someone who shared your youth. Loneliness in old age is not about being physically alone. It's about being unseen. Make friends in your 60s. Younger friends, older friends, neighbors, people from hobbies, volunteering, community groups. Cast a wider net than feels necessary. Because time will decide who remains, not you. Outliving everyone you love is a particular kind of grief. And the only protection against it is connection, more than you think you need. Avoiding uncomfortable conversations doesn't delay the inevitable. It only makes it messier. We avoid talking about death the way children avoid the dark. We pretend that if we don't name it, it won't enter the room. But death doesn't need permission. I learned this watching my own mother lose her voice after a stroke. For 3 years, she lived without being able to tell us what she wanted. No clear wishes, no instructions, no clarity. We guessed, we argued, we carried guilt we never fully shook. I promised myself I wouldn't do that to my children. And still I delayed. Talking about wills, finances, medical decisions, it feels grim. And then there's retirement, the dream people sell you. Retirement doesn't save you, it reveals you. For nearly 40 years, my identity had a title attached to it. When I retired, that title vanished overnight. Suddenly I wasn't needed, I wasn't useful, I wasn't sure who I was without somewhere to be. Those first years were darker than I expected. I felt invisible, untethered. It took time, years, to rebuild a sense of purpose from hobbies, volunteering, small joys. If your job is your entire identity, retirement will feel like falling off a cliff. Start building meaning outside of work now, before you need it. The most painful regret isn't what you did. It is what you thought you'd have time to do later. There are people I never forgave in time. Arguments that felt important until death made them irrelevant. Pride is expensive. It charges interest you don't see until it's too late. People die without waiting for closure, without waiting for apologies. If there is someone you love that you no longer speak to, reach out. Today, time does not negotiate. I also learned, slowly, that my children didn't need my advice. They needed my presence. Listening matters more than correcting. Showing up matters more than fixing. And memory. Memory is fragile. Write things down. Stories disappear when the mind grows tired. Preserve who you were while you still remember. Everything I feared about aging eventually came true. Loss, illness, dependence. And yet, I survived it. Fear did not destroy me. It changed me. Here is the final truth, the one I wish someone had told me sooner. The last 30 years move faster than the first 60. Decades collapse. Time accelerates. One blink becomes 10 years. My husband was alive one morning and gone by afternoon. 63 years together ended in under an hour. Love doesn't disappear. It becomes memory. Conversation without response. If I could speak to my 60-year-old self, I wouldn't shout. I would whisper, pay attention, be present, say I love you often, take the trip, make the call, forgive sooner. Time is still yours, but not for long. You still have time, just not as much as you think.